Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmagurubhyo Namaha. Srutismritipurananam karunalayam namami bhagavatpadam shankaram lokashankaram shankaram shankaracharyam keshavam badarayanam sutra bhashya kritau vande bhagavantau punah punah Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine Vyomavat vyapta dehaya dakshina murtaye namaha Om Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavato Sahana Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste once again, all of you.
Namaste, Guruji.
So, in the last class, we entered the most important theme or most important teaching of the entire Advaita Vedanta, which is the Jiva Ishvara Aikya. In fact, the entire Vedanta teaching is meant only for us to understand and assimilate this non-difference between what we conceive as a difference or perceive as a difference between Jiva and Ishvara. And when we are saying Jiva and Ishvara, so many terminologies are used. Jivatma, Paramatma is used. Then we use individual, total. All are, synonyms only. So the whole idea of what Vedanta wants us to understand is that when we look at, at the entire world, this entire universe, and when we look at our own selves, we see only differences. So many differences in terms of, every aspect. Even the finger, the lines in the fingers of two people are not alike. That's how the basis of the whole fingerprinting, technology, this thing. So there's so much of difference that we perceive. And Vedanta says that it is because you are perceiving these differences, all your problems are there. Your problems are existing because you perceive the differences. And what Vedanta is trying to, teach us, make us understand, is that all these differences which you are experiencing, seeing, perceiving, they are all superficial differences. At the core, at the essence level, there is no difference between anything in this universe. Everything is the same. And that once we understand that, then all our problems, which if you actually sit back and analyze, all our problems arise only because of these perceived differences. This Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, which are the 6, what we can say, the basis for all our problems. Jealousy, anger, it's all because we are perceiving differences in this entire world. If we are able to understand that this is only a perceived difference, everything in this entire universe is the same only, then there is no question of any jealousy. We won't be, oh, that fellow is greater than me, bigger than me, richer than me, healthier than me. All this jealousy will not be there. We won't be angry. So that is the whole purpose. When Vedanta is emphasizing on eternal happiness, that eternal happiness we can get only when we are able to understand this fundamental thing about the reality of this entire universe. That is what is the Jiva Ishvara Aikyam topic, which we just started off in the last class. And this is the, what I can say is the main theme of all Upanishads. Vedas, after teaching about all karmas, everything, what all you need to do in order to attain or successfully achieve your three purusharthas, which are dharma, artha, kama purusharthas. After dealing with all that, when it comes to the anta, to the end of the Vedas, which is why it is called Vedanta, it talks about moksha purushartha. And then it says that all that you have done is all invalid when you come to this moksha purushartha. But in order to come to moksha purushartha and understand the Upanishads, that background of all the karma kanda is very much essential. You cannot come to Jnana Yoga without going through Karma Yoga. So that is how the whole link is there. That is what makes the Vedanta a complete body of knowledge. Okay. And in the last class, we saw the text rather, but then I said that before we go into the text and understand the words and meanings, let us understand this whole concept of on what basis does Vedanta say that there is no difference, and in essence, you and the microcosm and the macrocosm, or the individual and the total is one and the same. How we need to understand that? Clearly, as I said, if we see, with our sense organs, we see only differences. We don't see any, way of, sameness in that. Especially when it comes to Jiva and Paramatma, Ishvara. All Puranas, everything talk about Ishvara, Sarva Shaktiman and Sarva Vyapi, Sarvajnaha, all knowing. Whereas we are all what? We are all very limited people. So where can there be a similarity or a sameness between a limited being, that is me, and Ishvara, who is unlimited? That is what this whole understanding we need to have. Okay. So we have seen that the microcosm consists of three levels, which is the Karana Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, and the Stula Sharira, which is the individual, at the individual microcosm level. And we have also seen that it's the same three levels which is there in the universal or the total macrocosm level also. Only thing is there we call it Karana Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, and Stula Prapancha. Here we call Sharira, there we call Prapancha, because Prapancha means universe, cosmos. But the underlying fact is that all these are matter. Both at the individual level and the total level, they are material matter, and matter on its own is inert. Matter is just jadam, as they call it. It is inert. It does not have any power to do anything on its own. It is like any gadget that we have without the battery, like a remote of a TV or AC or anything. If it doesn't have a battery, that remote is useless. Whenever we are operating the remote, do we remember that actually this remote is working only because of the battery? We realize it only when the battery finishes to change the battery. Otherwise, we think that the remote is what is doing everything. So, like a remote without battery, all this material, all these three levels, both at the microcosm level and macrocosm level, are inert. They can't do anything on their own. And it is only because of that principle which we call Brahman or Atma, that everything gets sentiency in this whole universe, both at the individual and the total level. So that Brahman is like the battery in the remote. That Brahman's presence is very much required for this entire universe to function as it is functioning. At the total level, we call it Brahman. At the individual level, we call it Atma. Atma and Brahman are both one and the same only, except that reference points are different. That's okay. And this Brahman, when it is actually driving this entire universe to do all the transactions, all the actions and all, itself does not undergo any change. It is not participating in any of these transactions. Brahman is present. In the presence of Brahman, everything takes place, but Brahman himself does not do any action. Because for doing any action, some quality is required. For example, if I have to lift some heavy thing, I require the quality called strength in my arms to lift it. Isn't it? Brahman is Nirgunam. He doesn't have any quality. So how can Brahman lift anything? He can't lift anything. He or it cannot, because Brahman is a neutral word. It's neither he nor she. It is it. That's the beauty of the language, you know. Whereas Ishvara and at both at the total level, Paramatma level and Jivatma level, we can have, you know, this you know, he, she and all that. But Brahman is neutral. Because Brahman is neutral, it blesses everything. It doesn't bother about he or she and all that. It. So that Brahman doesn't undergo any change. It doesn't participate in anything. But without that Brahman, nothing can happen. Nothing can take place. Okay. Example is like the sun. Under the sunlight, we see, you know, all activities take place. Photosynthesis takes place in plants. The birds all, you know, wake up in the morning at sunrise, go around, you know, searching for food and all that. The whole world wakes up. We also wake up in the morning. Some people wake up when the sun is at the noon sun. But then activity is spurred by the sun and the sunlight. When the sun goes down, or for example, as we say, the sun sets, after that all activities come down. So, but the sun itself doesn't do any activity. But all activities take place because of the presence of the sunlight. That is exactly the type of role Brahman plays. Without Brahman, no activity can take place. But Brahman himself does not, or Brahman itself does not participate in any activity. Okay. It is attributeless. So the Brahman does not have any sense organs. Nothing is there. Okay. So that is the role of this Brahman. Now, once these three prapanchas, the gross universe, gross body, subtle universe, subtle body, and the causal universe and the cause body, they all evolved. When they evolved, these material universes and bodies, they serve as the medium through which the Brahman manifests itself. How do we know there is something called Brahman? So first question we must ask, isn't it? As a Vedantin, our job as a student is to question. We must start from the basic. You say Brahman, 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 Acharya. Where is this Brahman? How do we know there is Brahman? First question. Then the Acharya will reply that we cannot see Brahman, we cannot experience Brahman, but all our experiences are experiences of Brahman alone, because without Brahman there won't be any experience. This is the answer you will get. What do we understand that? We understand that this Brahman itself, him itself cannot come before us and tell us, I am Brahman. But the very fact that insentient, jadam, materials which are which do not have any power to do anything on their own, are doing lot of things, transacting with each other. We understand from that, we deduce that there is something which is actually driving this. If you give, a remote to a child, the child may not know that there is a battery in the remote. Of course, these days children are also very smart, but I'm talking about my generation children. We have not even seen the remote. Forget battery. But what I'm saying is, at that level of intellect, we may not understand how the remote works. But if you are later told that the remote works only when there is a battery, without the battery, remote will not work. If we understand that, then we will understand that the entire remote is being powered by the battery. Similarly, if we understand that remote on its own is insentient, it cannot do anything of its own, it is jadam, but because of the battery, it becomes live and it is able to interact with the TV or with other gadgets and all that. Then we understand that the real essence of this remote is in that battery. The life of that remote is in that battery. Similarly, when we understand that all the three prapanchas and all the three bodies are inert, jadam, but then they all act as if they are sentient. I am able to walk around, I am able to speak to you, I am able to shake my hands, all sentiency. So what lends that sentiency to all this body, at the individual level to the body, and at the total level to the entire universe, planets going round the sun reflecting heat and light. From where do they get? Sun on its own is insentient, but when it is blessed by Brahman, it starts acting as sun. Similarly, each one of us, when we are blessed by that Brahman, all insentient things become sentient. So with that, the first thing we understand is that logically, if we think about it, there is some force, we can call it by any name. There is some force which is there in the entire universe, because of which the universe is become sentient, it is able to function. Without that, everything will be just material matter only, right? So when this consciousness principle, which is what we call, we have seen what is Atma or Brahman, consciousness principle. When this consciousness principle pervades the three bodies, we get the sentiency. Now, what the Shastra says is that these three bodies and these three prapanchas, the three levels of the universe, they act as a medium for reflecting that consciousness. So what we are actually experiencing as sentiency in everything in this entire world is not the original consciousness, but a reflected consciousness. You must understand this very carefully. Each of these levels, each of these bodies at the individual level or at the total level, they are all medium through which the original consciousness, Brahman, gets reflected. And it is because of that reflection that all these activities are taking place. I mean, if we take the example of the sun, sun is one, which is there at the top level, right? Suppose we have got lot of different sizes of mirrors. Each mirror will reflect the sun, or the reflection of the sun can be seen in each mirror. Depending upon the quality of the mirror, that also we must remember, that's very important to remember. And each mirror will appear as if it is itself shining. It has got a light on it of its own. With that light, we can even throw light into a dark room and lighten up that room also with the mirror. But does the mirror have its own light? Answer is no. Only when you are exposing that mirror to the sun, that sunlight gets reflected in the mirror, and that the mirror acts as if it has got its own light. Now, if the same sun shines on a piece of raw wood, will that wood reflect the same sunlight like a mirror does? It will not. So what happens? What we have to understand, that this reflection also is a property of the medium which is reflecting this. And that is why, even though consciousness is pervading this entire universe, consciousness is not reflected the way, well, like rocks are there. They are not sentient. But consciousness is pervading the rocks also, but the medium of the rocks is not, what's an appropriate medium for the consciousness to be reflected. Whereas this body-mind complex which we have, or any other animals have, all living beings have, the structure of this body-mind complex, of this body-mind-sense complex of all the living beings are appropriate medium for the consciousness to reflect. And that is why they all become sentient. And all non-living things do not have that capacity to reflect the consciousness. So that is why they are non-living. They remain inert only. We become sentient, they remain inert. So this principle of reflecting consciousness we must understand. So there are two things we are involved now. One is, or rather three things. One is the original consciousness which is pervading this entire universe. Then there is a question of reflecting medium. Then in that reflecting medium, the consciousness gets reflected. If the medium is non-reflecting, the consciousness will not get reflected in that, even though it is present. That is what we have to understand from the point of view of consciousness, the original Brahman. So we now have 6 medium for reflection of the consciousness. At the individual level, we have 3. The Karana Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, and the Stula Sharira. At the total level, we have got 3. The Karana Prapancha, the Sukshma Prapancha, and the Stula Prapancha. So 6 medium for reflection we have got. For we can understand this whole process with some little more detailed illustration. Let us say that these three bodies at the individual level, that is reflecting mediums at the individual level, the causal body is there. First, let us take the Karana Sharira. Let us label that Karana Sharira, which is a reflecting medium, as RM1, reflecting medium 1. Okay. Then second is Sukshma Sharira. We must remember, Karana Sharira, Sukshma Sharira on their own are inert. It is only when consciousness pervades them, then they have the reflecting medium, reflecting capacity, so they become sentient. So Sukshma Sharira, let us name it RM2, reflecting medium 2. Then Stula Sharira, reflecting medium 3. So we have got RM1, RM2, RM3 at the individual level. Similarly, at the total level, let us label them RM4 for Karana Prapancha, reflecting medium 4, RM5 for Sukshma Prapancha, then RM6 for Stula Prapancha. So we have got now 6 reflecting medium. 3 at the individual level and 3 at the total level. Put it little differently, 3 at the level of what we call Jivatma and 3 at the level of what we call Paramatma. Isn't it? Totality is what is we have been saying, Paramatma, Ishvara. So these are the 6 mediums are there. Then each medium is reflecting that consciousness. Because each medium, there will be 6 reflections, 6 mediums, 6 reflections will be there. Like, you know, the sun and the mirror example, like as many number of mirrors you keep, as many reflections of the sun will be there. So those reflections of this consciousness also, let us label them. RC1, reflected consciousness 1. That is, this will be the reflecting media 1 will reflect the consciousness 1. Let us, you know, label it like that. So similarly, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Stula Sharira, let us label them as RC2 and RC3. And at the total level also, let us label them as RC4, RC5 and RC6. So now we have got 2 sets of 3 each. At the individual level, we have got a reflected medium 1, reflecting medium 1 and reflected consciousness 1, RM1 and RC1. Then at the Sukshma Sharira level, we have got RM2 and RC2. Stula Sharira level, we have got RM3 and RC3. At the totality level, on the right side of the equation, what we have got the Karana Prapancha, RM4 and RC4. Sukshma Prapancha, RM5 and RC5. Then Stula Prapancha, RM6 and RC6. So these 2 we have got. Okay. So these 6, the Shastra gives them certain names for each one of them. Each one of the reflected consciousness. For RC1, which is what? Karana Sharira, reflected consciousness, the Shastra gives the name as Prajna. Prajna is the name given by the Shastra for RC1. the reflected consciousness in the Karana Sharira. Then for the reflected consciousness in the Sukshma Sharira, the Shastra gives the name Taijasa. Taijasa. Don't worry, I will show you a chart later on. After I finish this explanation, I have made a nice chart. In one page, you will get all this information. Don't worry. Don't get, bewildered that, oh, you're saying so many things and all that. If you just keep that chart, go through the chart, all this whole lecture will come into your mind. Right? I'll show that. So, RC2, RC2, which is Sukshma Sharira, is called Taijasa. Then RC3, which is the Stula reflected consciousness in the Stula Sharira, is called Vishwa. So this is on the individual side. Then on the totality side, RC reflected consciousness 4, which is the reflected consciousness in the Karana Prapancha, causal universe, is called what? It's called Antaryami. Then the reflected consciousness at the Sukshma Prapancha level, it is called Hiranyagarbha. Then the reflected consciousness at the Stula Prapancha level is called Virat. So we have got these names labeled. We labeled them RC1 and all that, but Shastra gives specific names to all these 6 reflected consciousness. So the first 3, that is Prajna, Taijasa and Vishwa, is at the individual level. Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha and Virat is at the total level. This is what we have to understand. And then these 3 put together, which is what? At the individual level. This Prajna, Taijasa and Vishwa put together is called Jivatma. And Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha, Virat put together is called Paramatma. So what we have to understand, when we are talking about Jivatma and Paramatma, both are reflections of the original Atma. Even Paramatma is also a reflection of the original Atma only. When we talk of totality or Paramatma, each component of the Paramatma as, the Karana Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, Stula Prapancha, each of those components are also originally inert matter only. But because of the Brahman or Atma or the original consciousness, everything has become sentient. So Jivatma is this at the individual level, Paramatma at the total level, but both are no difference, both are reflected consciousness only. Just a difference of micro and macro medium, that's all is there. Now, let us understand that why is this perceived difference is there between Jivatma and Paramatma. That is, let us understand the nature and size of these reflections. Obviously, the nature and size of reflection will depend upon the reflecting medium. The purer and the clearer the reflecting medium, the reflection will be brighter. The more dull the reflecting medium, the reflection will be poor, isn't it? If it is a small reflecting medium, the reflection will be small. If it is a big reflecting medium, it will be big reflection. So size and nature of the reflecting medium determines the extent to which the reflections can take place. Right? Even if the original sun is big, if the mirror is very small, the sun will also appear small only in that mirror in the reflection, isn't it? Or if the mirror is actually tainted with some grease or something like that, as compared to a very clean mirror, the reflection of the sun will be dull in a mirror which is, some grease or some dirt and all is there in that mirror. So the reflection in the Jivatma is characterized by its smallness in size, and also dullness in terms of the variety of problems which is there in our mind. We have got huge, whole life is problem. All these experiences we have, so that becomes very, very dull reflection at the Jiva level. And that is why it appears that the Jiva has got limited qualities and negative attributes like, Alpagyatvam, limited knowledge, Alpashaktiman, not much power. All those things, we are not, all pervading. This in the body, mind, sense complex level. We can be at one place, not at all place all the time. All that is there. Whereas the same consciousness which is reflected at the macro medium level, at the cosmic intelligence level, it harmonizes the entire universal functioning. It is what maintains the planetary movements and all those things, whatever is happening, including what we read about black holes and all that kind of thing, In fact, if you understand what happens in a black hole, we will understand what pralayam is. Dense matter. The whole thing goes into a black hole at the end of the cycle of creation, and then manifests again. So, just a thought came aside. Okay. So this entire planetary system, solar system, everything at the cosmic level is all, the reflected consciousness which is manifesting at the cosmic level. And just imagine how intelligently the whole thing works. Just imagine if two planets were to collide, what will happen, right? All these physical laws of universe, the moral laws, dharma, adharma, including the jiva's birth and death, everything is determined by this reflected consciousness. It also this law of karma, what should be enjoyed by which jiva when. Nothing is accidental. The Swami Paramatmananda says, even a mosquito bite is not accidental. It is punya for the mosquito and papa for us, who is bitten. So nothing in this universe is accidental and all that. Everything is well designed within an intelligent framework, which of course, because of our limited capacity, we are not able to understand. That's all. As we become more and more understanding so far as what is the driving force into the entire thing, we will be able to see how exactly everything is functioning. But the law of karma itself is a very big law, which is just sustained by this entire, the order of Ishvara. Okay. So this cosmic intelligence, which is being, maintained, what we call Paramatma or Ishvara, which is nothing but the reflected consciousness at the macro medium level. Okay. And so Paramatma has got superior qualities. The medium of Paramatma has got superior qualities. Sarvajnaha, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavyapi, all that we can say. So the reflection is very bright. So far as Paramatma is concerned, the totality is concerned. And so far as we are concerned, the reflection is dull because of the medium. Nothing to do with the reflection itself. Because the quality of the reflection depends upon the quality of the medium. It's because of the medium that all these differences are there. Perceived differences are there. Okay. So Atma itself or Brahman itself have no quality at all. So the reflecting ones alone get the attributes of the size and quality based on their own properties. So from this, one thing we can come to a conclusion. Both Jivatma and Paramatma are distorted versions of the original Atma. Because any reflection cannot be the original. It is the distorted version of the original. And the distortion is caused by the nature of the medium. For example, suppose there are two mirrors in front of us. One is a concave mirror, another is a convex mirror. And we see our face in that mirror. What will happen? In the concave mirror, our face will appear to be flat. Right? In the convex mirror, our face will appear to be elongated. But when we see the two mirrors, as you know, our face is totally distorted in both these mediums. Because of the nature of that medium, we don't get worried about that. Why? Because we know that our face does not have those distortions at all. It is because of those medium that these distortions are taking place. We know that very well. So we don't get worried, we don't get disturbed. Oh my God, see, my face has changed. We don't say that. We just enjoy those distortions. Maybe just smile. See, my face looks like this. Let me see how your face looks like. We'll enjoy it and we will forget it. So if we start worrying about these distortions, then what will happen? Our whole life will be full of these worries only, because we are not looking at the original face. We are just looking at the distortions and coming to certain wrong conclusions about this, about ourselves. And same thing is happening at the whole totality level and the individual level also. We are looking at the medium of Paramatma and thinking that Paramatma is something great. We are looking at our own limited medium and say that I am very small, I am a very poor man, I am very limited. What we are missing is the original consciousness, the original face, the original Brahman, the original Atma is one and the same, which is getting reflected both in the Jivatma as well as in the Paramatma. That point we are missing that. We are focusing more on the medium rather and the reflected consciousness rather than on the original consciousness. If we understand that whether it is Jivatma we are talking about or Paramatma we are talking about the individual or the totality, we are talking about the Jiva or Ishvara. If we understand that both are distortions only, whereas the undistorted form is the original consciousness, which is getting reflected in this Jivatma and this Paramatma. So, when we take the Jivatma, we feel it is a Nikrishta Guna, very limited attributes. Whereas Paramatma, Utkrishta Guna, very, very exalted attributes. And Atma has got no Guna, Nirguna. If we understand that, and remove this distorting medium, both from the Jivatma and the Paramatma. Remove means not physically remove, cognitively remove in our understanding. If we remove the distorting medium, what will happen? We will understand that there is only one consciousness which is pervading this whole world and getting reflected in different inert matter, depending upon their own individual qualities and attributes, And some of them being good reflectors, they are made sentient. And some of them, because they don't have the capacity to reflect, they remain insentient. If we understand this whole structure, we will understand that the reality of this entire cosmos is that Brahman, that Atma, that consciousness. This is what Vedanta wants to teach us. And this we cannot learn because we cannot experience it. Our learning is always first theory, then practice. Isn't it? That is how all the science also works. So you first have a sort of what they call a proposal, what they call proposition, then work a theory out into the proposition, and then practically test out the theory and then establish that this is the principle of the universe. And if we think about this entire universe with the same mindset, we will never ever be able to understand the role of Brahman. So this is what we have to understand. A person who realizes this reality, who assimilates this reality into his entire system of working in transactions, a wise person, he will call up God and say, "Oh God, I never knew you and I are one and the same." Right? I have reverence towards you as I have reverence towards everything else, including every other human being. I have reverence. So I have reverence towards you. I have reverence towards trees. I have reverence towards, all the even inanimate things rather. When I make a rock into a Shivalinga, I revere that Shivalinga. I do puja to the Shivalinga. But don't, God, please, don't have that ego that I am, your dasa and all that. I am not your dasa. There is no difference between you and me. I have understood the secret now. This is what the wise man will say. So minus distorting medium, I am Nirguna Atma. Minus your distorting medium, you are Nirguna Atma. So this Nirguna Atma, that Nirguna Atma, both are one and the same. So as Paramatma, you can, yes, you are totality, I am individuality, but there is no difference in essence between the two of us. This is what a wise man will say, and he will say it full understanding and declare Aham Brahmasmi. Tvam Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. So there is no difference between Tvam and Aham. This is what a wise man understanding will be. And once we get this understanding, that understanding is what is called moksha. Which is what, we say that the understanding of non-difference, non-duality. So everything is just one absolute reality, which is Advaita. This is the basis of the Advaita philosophy. Okay. So all these distortions are incidental, and therefore they are caused by the medium. And a wise person, as I said, understands this reality, assimilates this as a fact, and abides in this knowledge. And this is what is called Tattva Bodha. This knowledge is what is called Tattva Bodha. And this is what is called Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam. So now I will show you that chart which I talked about. So chart is visible to you, all of you?
Yes, Guruji.
Okay, I will have to scroll it because everything, if I put it in one slide, it will be a problem. But I will take you through the chart. See, this is the Jiva Ishvara Aikyam, right? So we have this Brahman Atma, original consciousness, that I labeled as OC, original consciousness. So this is the, original conscious, all pervading, like, like a bomb bursting rather. Okay. So from that, at the microcosm level, in the individual level, we have got RM1, reflecting medium 1, which is what? The Karana Shariram, causal body. Okay. And the reflection of the original consciousness is happening RC1. Okay, reflecting consciousness 1. Reflected consciousness. This is reflecting medium, reflected consciousness. Karana Shariram, and this is what I told you is called Prajna. Okay. Then at the Sukshma Sharira level, at the individual Sukshma microcosm, we have got RM2, reflecting medium 2, then reflected consciousness 2. So that is called Taijasa, Sukshma Shariram, subtle body. Then at the gross body level, that is Stula Shariram, we have got the reflecting medium 3, then reflected consciousness 3, and that is called Vishwa. Okay. So all these three put together are called Jivatma. Now let us go to the macrocosm side. Macrocosm RM4, reflecting medium 4, which is the Karana Prapancha, the causal universe. It reflects the reflected consciousness 4 is the label. So this is the reflection of that at the Karana Prapancha level. That is called Antaryami. Then RM5 is the Sukshma Prapancha, subtle universe, reflecting medium 5 and reflected consciousness 5. That is called Hiranya Garbha. Then RM6, which is the Stula Prapancha level, that is RM6 and RC6, that is the reflected consciousness 6, it's called Virat. So Antaryami, Hiranya Garbha, Virat, all are put together called Paramatma. So what is very clear from this is that the original consciousness is what is actually getting reflected in all these media. Okay. And what has also I have tried to depict is at the microcosm level, the reflecting medium is tainted. So that taintedness is shown by the some gray color. Whereas at the total level, the reflected medium is clear. It's very pure, right? Sattva Guna Pradhana. This is totally Sattva Guna Pradhana. Here we can have Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna, all that combination, which actually pollutes the entire thing. So that is why this is made tainted and this is pure. So when you look at it, if you actually negate or remove this medium and these reflections from all these 6 entities, what is there is only the original consciousness. And it is that original consciousness which is pervading this entire world. Have you all seen the chart? I will send you this chart also. I will circulate this chart to all of you after the class today. So this is if we actually remove these distortions, this medium and these reflections, we will realize that there is no difference between Jiva and Ishvara. The individual is the same as the total. Both are in essence the original consciousness only. It is my face only, not the face which I am seeing in a concave mirror or a convex mirror. This understanding is what the entire Upanishad is trying to give us. So when we see any other individual, when we see anything in this whole world, we will start looking at the reality of that entity rather than looking at the distortions or looking at the medium in which that consciousness is getting reflected. So there is nothing called superior, inferior, big, small in this entire universe. There is only one entity, Brahman, consciousness, pure consciousness. That is what all of us are. So this is how the Tattva Bodha or the knowledge of what is the reality of this entire universe, including the reality of us, is taught in the scriptures. And this is exactly what the author is also explaining in the text that he has actually written, which we will see. I think it's almost time 3-4 minutes there. So I will close the class today and we will see the text in the next class. Whatever I have explained, the author explains the same thing with the text, but it will be a very good, what I can say, a revision for all of you, so that you can understand it with the text, Tattva Bodha text also, the same principle. But if we had not seen this example in this way with a pictorial chart, sometimes it could have become very difficult to understand what the author wants to say in the text. Okay, so I'll say the prayers, and if there are questions, then we will discuss them. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much. I hope this class has not been too heavy on all of you.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you,
I have a question.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It will
I
take
have
some
a
time
question.
for it to sink
Yeah, it will take a lot of
Thank you.
time, not sometime, lot of time. Because the worst problem is removing, how to remove this distorted medium from our thinking.
Thinking, correct. Thank you,
Namaskaram.
Guruji.
Take time.
Thank you.
But people have achieved it, so we can also be confident that we can also achieve it.
Perhaps, yes.
I have a question.
Questions, please.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
You say Brahman is at the is at the origin level.
Yeah.
You can say Atma is again at an individual level.
No, Brahman and Atma are one and the same. But what we do is we call it at the individual level as Atma and the total level as Brahman. That's all. It's only a nomenclature, labeling. There's no difference between Atma and Brahman. Understand that?
No, there is no difference.
Yeah.
But then, can you say Brahman is a sum total of Atma, because in every individual is different. Every individual has an individual Atma. You can say I have an Atma here. Everybody has it. So Brahman is a sum total of all the Atma that is prevalent in this cosmos.
No.
Okay.
It will be amounting to say that the sun, original sun, is the sum total of all the reflections which we see in the different mirrors. Will that be right?
Sun is one.
Sun is one. Brahman is one. What we say Atma, or call it Atma at the individual level, is nothing but a reflection of that one sun.
Okay.
Understand? So we cannot say that individual Atmas are there. There are no, when we see it, suppose there are 6 mirrors we put on the ground, and each one of them we see the reflection of the sun. Can we say there are 6 suns? We cannot say that. We can say there are 6 reflections of the sun. But in reality, there is only one sun which is getting reflected in 6 different mirrors. Similarly, Atma or Brahman is one, but it is getting reflected in different individuals. That we can say. Understand, na?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
At the individual level, it is called Jivatma, isn't it, Guruji?
Yes, individual cover. See, all these are labels for Shastra has given in order to make us understand what this is all about. We are used to labels, names, and things like that, you know. Otherwise, when you are calling it as non-dual, there is the question of the second thing. How can you even call it Jivatma, Paramatma? Because there is only one. No, you can't call them differently and all that. There is no Jivatma, there is no Paramatma, there is only Atma. That is the highest of the knowledge, rather. But how to impart that knowledge? By using all these things. You know, just like when we solve algebraic equations and all, we will say let it be X, unknown quantity be X. Then we will solve the whole thing with X, and then eventually we will remove the effect of X also. Then we came to the original solution. Similarly, Shastra will introduce lot of names. Eventually, it will say that all these are all mithya. They are all, you know, they don't have real existence at all. And when we become a Mahatma, we will understand that at this stage, it is very difficult to understand because we are used to that kind of, you know, relating to these kind of what I can call, you know, the empirical reality. That is what we relate to. So very difficult to negate that. But as we go, as we study more and more, bring this thought into our mind, understand how this whole thing is functioning, then ultimately we will be able to realize it and assimilate this knowledge. Yeah? Any other question?
Thank you.
Sitaraman's question can be answered in another way, like Akasha and Gadakasha.
Yeah. With so many ways we can answer. Another 1 hour we can answer that question. But I think since we took the example of the sun and the reflecting medium, so that example is I feel more relevant here rather than taking, you know, ornaments and so those examples. All those examples we have already seen. So that is it. Yes, Hariji, any question?
I have a question which is not
too
directly
heavy a dose.
Sorry.
I said it is too heavy a dose to think of a question immediately.
Yeah, that's okay. You can ask the questions anytime. You did not ask the next class questions only relating to what is taught there. You can ask a question relating to what has been taught earlier also. It is heavy dose because we are coming to the crux of the matter only now. Till now, we have been, you know, dealing with anatma. Now we are trying to understand what exactly is this. And you know, the Shastras call it a secret. This is not revealed to people in general because of the difficulty in understanding, because people need to have that kind of an intellectual maturity to understand what is being talked about. So Atma, Anatma and all, there is no Anatma at all. Actually, Anatma is Mithya. There is only Atma. When you say non-dual, what do you mean? Advaitam means there is no second. There is only one. So even when we talk of all Anatmas and things like that and all, we can talk of Anatma only if there are two things, Atma and Anatma. So all the talk is only methodology or what I can call a prakriya which Shastra uses in order to bring us to this Atma and tell us what this Atma is all about. It is what we experience is pratibimbam, reflection. What is there in reality is bimbam, the original consciousness. This is what we need to understand. Yes, Lataji.
Guruji, if the question is irrelevant, please ignore it. The Devi Devatas, they come under what, at what level of the RM? If it's a relevant question.
Paramatma level. Devi Devatas are also
No, the RM 456. The
RM 456, yeah. RM 456.
They come under all the three.
Yeah.
They come under all.
Yeah. Even Devi Devatas also will have a Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira, Karana Sharira. So they will come under RM 456.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Or shall we close the session?
Thank you, Raghuji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will circulate the chart to everybody. Okay. Hari Om.
Sulekha, if you want to ask that question,
Yeah.
press
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Sulekha
Thank
ji.
you. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you, Premaji. A very heavy topic, as others have mentioned. My question is, if we cannot experience Brahman, if it's nameless, formless, attributeless, and we are a reflecting medium that is really only a reflection that has a conditioned consciousness, how, two questions. One is, how do we clean our medium or polish it in order to better understand or abide in this knowledge? And I guess the second question is, how can we abide in something that is formless if we have form?
How can we abide in that which is formless when we have a form? Good, both are very good questions. So the first question is, how do we clean up or purify this medium? See, what is the medium we are talking about here? We are talking about our mind, our intellect. That is where this knowledge has to take place. And this entire spiritual journey, all the sadhanas, everything that we need to do in this whole journey is nothing but cleaning up this medium only. That's why right in the beginning, I said the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti which we saw is what? It is to give us more and more chitta shuddhi. So that purification of that medium has been broken down into different aspects like viveka, vairagya, all those things which are actually adding to the impurity of the medium. So by developing all those things consciously, we have to work towards it. It is not by just saying, okay, I have to develop vairagya, means it will come tomorrow morning when I wake up, I will have vairagyam. It's not going to happen like that. So Shastra gives us the ways to go about it also. When you see the permanence and impermanence, when you are looking for permanent joy, realize that you cannot get permanent joy from an impermanent object. So like that, you start developing vairagya. You don't get, you start reducing your attachment to all the impermanent objects, be it human beings, be it material, even inanimate things, whatever it is, money and all that. You start realizing that today, with this corona situation, each one of us, I am sure, we are actually experiencing how fickle this entire life is. I mean, I tell you, from a Vedanta point of view, a Vedanta student will take so much lessons from this corona situation to develop this, develop what I call a vairagya, towards everything rather. What is the point in my wife's cousin sister, 3 days before she passed away. She is 55 years old. She was. And just 4 days before only we were talking and things like that and all. She just got corona. There was no bed, hospital bed available in Bangalore and all that. And she ultimately, they managed somehow to get a bed. That night she passed away. And it's really unbelievable. My wife, when she closes her eyes, she says only her image is coming in front of her. But then this is the fickleness of this world. We have to understand how life itself is fickle, which we consider to be so, precious and all that. What is the preciousness about life? One unseen virus can actually take this life away in minutes. So once we understand this entire thing, we will start learning how to develop this vairagya. Virus is an extreme example I gave you, but then day to day also we can see. So this is the whole Shastra is meant for that. Sadhana Chatushte Sampatti is meant for that. And once we make this more pure and pure and pure, our chittam, our intellect, then you will see the reflection of that consciousness is also becoming brighter and brighter and brighter. You can experience it. I cannot explain it to you, because it is something to be experienced by one's own self rather. But it happens. It has happened in so many cases. It has happened to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. It has happened to Ramana Maharshi. It has happened to Swami Dayananda Saraswati. It has happened to Swami Chinmayananda. So many people, Swami Omkarananda, all these Swamijis, they have actually realized that. So we have to actually follow that. It's not an easy path. Spiritual path is never an easy path. That is why, whereas if I were to actually conduct some music classes or show you some magic show, there will be hundreds of people in this. In fact, I attended one Zoom session. Somebody said, reverse diabetes in 30 days. This was the title of that Zoom session. Right? I was very keen. My wife told, oh, it's something really is going to, show. So that session went on for 3 hours. And you know how many people were there? There were more than 150, 200 people in that session. And everybody wants to get rid of diabetes. Ultimately, he gave lecture for 1.5 hours, and he said that you join my gym, and I will give you some, something to drink and all that, and your diabetes will be over. But whereas when we take Vedanta class, how many people we see? 10 people, 15 people, 20 people. So this subject itself is like that. It's not very easy. In fact, that's why, today we are in the 30th class. 30 classes, if you have sustained this, that means there is something in you, you're curious to know about it, you want to know more about it. That itself shows a great level of, Chitta Shuddhi. Because if you did not have it, you would have left it in 3 classes. I can guarantee you that. People have left also. It's not that we started with maybe 30, 40 people. Now we have got over 20 people in the class. So it happens. No Acharya will be worried about that. Oh, people are leaving. Is my teaching not correct or not? No Acharya will be worried, because he knows that everybody will join for curiosity, but this is not, a subject matter for everybody. Only select people. And that's why we say this selection is done by Bhagavan. They only get to come here itself, you must have certain degree of purification. And then once you come here, when you understand what it is all about, then you further and further do all the sadhanas, everything to do that. So that is I think, the first question. Second question was what? When I answer one question, I forget the second.
Guruji, do we say that the Brahman cannot be perceived with the sense organs, but can be experienced with sadhana?
No, you cannot experience Brahman, you cannot perceive Brahman, you only have to understand Brahman.
Understand Brahman.
That's it. There is a Brahman, and I am that Brahman, you have to understand.
Realization.
Realization, that is realization. You can experience Brahman through experience. Every experience is an experience of Brahman only. If you look at it, right? When I am talking, it is experience of Brahma. I am talking because I am sentient, and that sentiency is given to me by that Brahman only, that consciousness only. So even when I am talking, I am experiencing Brahman only. So if you want to experience Brahman, experience within quote unquote, every experience is experience of Brahman only.
Every expression is Brahman, and every experience
is Brahman. Every experience is Brahman. Every transaction is Brahman. Sarvam Brahman. Everything is Brahman only in this entire universe. All other things are names and forms, distorted mediums. That's all. Only reality is Brahman. That's what we have to understand. And that's what Vedanta is all about. Yes.
Sorry, I interrupted with the second
We
question.
can,
Yes, Ariji. Mute. Yeah.
we can experience only an object.
Yeah.
The relation between Brahman and us is not an object subject. We cannot experience and we can become Brahman. This is becoming the Brahman.
We cannot become Brahman because we are already Brahman.
Yeah.
Yes, we are one.
Yeah.
So we can't comprehend.
It's a matter of understanding, not experience. See, for example, power is electricity is there. Can we see? Does electricity have got any form? It doesn't have. We can only experience electricity when some of these gadgets and all function, isn't it?
Experience comes only when there is a subject object.
Yeah.
Here there is no subject and object is one.
And to what Sita Raman said, let us say there is an electricity which comes to the main board in our house. What is the voltage it comes with? Let's say 240 volts. Electricity comes, correct?
Yeah.
But then what happens? When we connect all the gadgets in all the rooms, all the switchboards, everything to that main this thing, is it that the 240 volts becomes 20 volts somewhere, 10 volts somewhere? No, at every point we will get the 240 volts. Even if we run all gadgets together, everything will run at 240 volts. Similarly, there is no separate Atma, that one Atma doesn't get divided into different Atma and all that. There is only one Atma, and that Atma is the same in all the beings. Everyone. So that is why, other philosophies which are not this Advaita philosophies, they don't get this particular point. They feel I am different, you are different. Yes, we are different at the reflecting medium level. But at the original level, at the essential level, we are all the same. And that is what Krishna is trying throughout Gita, Sarvatma Bhava. Sarvatma Bhava, he keeps on saying. This is what Sarvatma Bhava is all about. So we can go on talking about it endlessly. Anyhow, if you still have your questions are answered, Sulekhaji, all your questions are answered. Have I missed anything?
Second question needs to be answered.
I think the second question you also answered. Thank you, Lataji. I think that idea of what is formless, you have answered it through both other people's questions and how we cannot experience it. It's been well answered. Everything is Brahman. Every transaction, every interaction, every experience is that Brahman. Thank you.
So everybody can say Aham Brahmasmi, isn't it? Yes. So that is what it is. Okay. Hari Om. We will meet in the next class. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Hari Om.
Yo.
Thank you.